Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka Jalon33. I want to welcome you guys back here to the Legit Shoot podcast, here with a bonus episode for you guys today. Some of you guys have been waiting for this episode for a couple of weeks, and I want to apologize for delaying it. You know, things have been a little bit crazy. Every time I've tried to record the episode, I've been interrupted or something came up, so I've had to delay it. I was originally supposed to post this like right after Hell in a Cell, but I got a little bit nervous because we didn't know what was going to happen with Sasha and Bayley last week on Smackdown. Sasha did retain, the curse is over, so I could finally make the video. I was going to post this video on Sunday actually, but like I said, I got interrupted. So you guys are seeing this on Wednesday the 11th, all right? But thank you guys so much for joining me today on the podcast. You guys, your patience, your support, it means the world to me. And without you guys, of course, I would not be where I am today. So thank you guys for that. Before we get into the discussions, you know, because I have a couple of topics what we want to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Sasha Banks, the Smackdown Women's Champion, right? I'm going to tell you guys how WWE should fancy book her championship reign. I'm talking about from right now all the way to, and this is a little bit of a spoiler. We'll talk about how we get there, but I believe Sasha should be Smackdown Women's Champion all the way till SummerSlam of 2021. Like, I'm going to give you guys storylines. I'm going to tell you guys who Sasha should face. I'm going to tell you guys who should beat her for the title. And I'm also going to tell you guys a little bit of where they should go with Sasha after she drops the title. So if someone from WWE was watching this video, it would be very smart if they take notes to when we get to that segment. A couple of things. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bayley and what you should do with Bayley now that she's no longer SmackDown Women's Champion. And we'll talk about her legacy just a little bit because, you know, even though she's no longer SmackDown Women's Champion, she just went on one of the most historical runs in, you know, women's history. So definitely I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about Twitch. That's going to be the first thing we talk about in just a moment. You know, if you guys haven't been keeping up with the news, there's a huge battle going on between WWE and the superstars because Vince McMahon has banned the WWE superstars from Twitch. So I want to talk about that and, you know, where that's most likely heading. And finally, I'm going to quickly mention it in a little bit. We're going to talk about Survivor Series and what WWE should do to make Survivor Series feel more important, right? Speaking of Survivor Series, of course, this weekend we have SmackDown, of course, but next week is Survivor Series week, even though, you know, Survivor Series doesn't feel that special this year. Still, it's Survivor Series, and plus, we cover everything WWE on the channel. So next week, we have your normal Monday Night Raw review. We'll have your SmackDown review, and it's sometime next week. You know, it's going to depend on my schedule. I'm thinking possibly Friday, but sometime next week, we will have a bonus episode of the podcast where we do Survivor Series preview and prediction. So make sure you guys watch out for that, of course. And then next Sunday night, we'll have a Survivor Series watch party. All right, the last one for Hell in a Cell was the best one we've ever done. So hopefully we can keep up that momentum with the next one for Survivor Series. And then, of course, we'll have the Survivor Series review right after the show goes off the air like we do every single month. So those are the quick things I wanted to mention. Thank you guys for the love and support once again. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Also, make sure to click the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Follow me on social medias. The links are in the description down below. Make sure to go check those out, all right? But like I said, thank you guys for all the support. And, you know, without wasting any more time, let's get into it, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, just because this could take a little bit of time, I want to talk about the whole Twitch situation, right? I could have made a whole separate video on this, but I decided not to because I wanted to see, you know, where things were going. And it's something. It's something. So basically, if you guys have not been listening to the news, so about a couple months ago, I would say like around August, very early September, Vince McMahon sent an email to all the superstars saying that they had 30 days to get off of all third-party sites, basically Cameo, Twitch, all that. The main reason for this is because it became aware to Vince that these superstars or some superstars were using their superstar names, on these third party sites, and they were making a pretty good amount of money for it, right? I wish I had the statistics in front of me, but I did read a report that some of these superstars were making complete bank. As if you go on Cameo, like you see like Roman Reigns or Alexa Bliss, right? Roman Reigns is like $400 for a cameo from him, or Sasha Banks is like 300, right? And these superstars are making a lot of money because WWE fans will spend money on anything when it comes to superstars. And so if you go to these superstars cameo profiles, they were making a lot of money from the cameos they were doing. Also, a lot of superstars are on Twitch, right? You all know Xavier Woods, up, up, down, down. Many superstars are gamers. So you got people like Paige, AJ Styles, Zelina Vega, Aleister Black, right? Adam Cole. The list goes down on and on and on. There's many gamers in the WWE family. Many of them have Twitch channels or streaming channels. Some even have YouTube channels. Like I know Liv Morgan has a YouTube channel now. Ronda Rousey, of course, has one. Asuka has one. And some of these superstars have been using their superstar names on these platforms, right? It brings awareness and is very easy way for, fans to recognize their favorite superstars and be able to support and connect with them. Well, Vince McMahon heard of this, and there's a problem. The problem, as much as Vince is out of touch, right? Vince owns, this is something you guys got to understand. Vince owns all those superstar names. He's the one that created them. We can complain all we want. Excuse me. We can complain all we want about how much he's out of touch and how about, the product is. But at the end of the day, these are all his creations. And they were all created under WWE. So WWE and Vince McMahon, they own all these superstars' in-ring personas. So if somebody from the WWE uses their superstar name, right, without Vince's permission, that can get them in very big legal trouble. Vince has every right to, tell those superstars, you cannot use your superstar names. One of the big problems is that Vince also said that, the company also owns the real names of the superstars. So, for example, Sasha Banks, we all know that's her in-ring name. Outside of WWE, her real name is Mercedes KV, right? And this is where, things start to get very wonky and wacky. So, Vince McMahon saying that he owns the real names of the superstars. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Yes, they're employed to WWE, but he doesn't own them. He owns everything coming from the in-ring personas. So if Vince has a problem with the in-ring personas being used, especially with how much money these superstars were making on these platforms, that makes complete sense. But when you say you own the superstar names, what the hell are you saying? That's like saying if I was signed to WWE and then Vince McMahon saying that he owns all the rights to my full legal name, George Lauren. Basically, like, what? You're like, Vince, you're not my daddy. You didn't raise me. Right? You didn't carry me for 9 months. Even though I might be employed to you, right? And then people might recognize me inside, outside of WWE because of my association with the company, but that doesn't mean you owe my real name. Like, are you kidding me right now? So when people heard that, people were like, wait, what the hell? So, 30 days passed. And, a lot of superstars, if you go on Cameo, right, you can't get cameos from Sasha Banks and most of the superstars right now. Most of their profiles are just, unavailable, right? They're not hidden, but they're unavailable. That means, that, celebrity is not taking any cameo requests at the moment. And one thing that most of us thought, and maybe WB still is doing this, but a lot of people thought that do what WWE would do. They would probably like negotiate deals with Cameo, with Twitch, some of these third party sites, and basically they would get like these brand exclusive deals so that the superstars could use their superstar names if they so choose, to go back on Cameo and Twitch, and then that money that they would make from a stream or from a Cameo that would go to WWE, and then WWE would just reimburse them later on, via their contracts in different ways. That's what all of us thought. But the way WWE is doing it, they're viewing it right now. It looks like they're looking at it a completely different way. Vince McMahon has completely banned. He's completely banned the superstars from using Cameo or Twitch, and it's really brought in some very conflicting situations. I know AJ Styles and Zelina Vega, right? They went to Vince McMahon themselves. They had a meeting with the guy, but the meeting really didn't do anything because, most of those superstars are still not on Cameo or Twitch. Something happened last week, if you guys didn't notice. Paige, she is still signed to WWE, even though she's no longer an in-ring talent. She is signed to WWE, and when she was streaming, right? She got a text, most likely from a WWE source, telling her that she had to end the stream right now or she would be in big trouble. So when Paige saw this, she had to end her stream, and then she went off. Before ending the stream, she went on a huge rant, talking about, I'm still with this company, but, I don't even wrestle anymore. Twitch is one of the only things that I have, and now they're trying to take everything away from me. Right? And don't get me started on what happened between Paige and Sasha Banks. Like, please, I don't want to get angry right now. But you guys get the point. Paige is still signed to the WWE, right? She's still getting paid by the company, but she's no longer able to wrestle. Even though I do believe one day Paige probably will be able to come back to the company, right, in a wrestling role. Because look, if Daniel Bryan or Edge, people that we thought would never wrestle again in the WWE ring, if they were able to come back, I think Paige will be able to come back one day as well. Right? But right now, she's not wrestling. And remember, one of the key things is we are in a pandemic. Right? Also, WWE Backstage got canceled a while back. Paige was on that show every single week. So if you think about it, you can use Paige, but you can take almost every WWE superstar. Well, usually, if we were in a normal state of life, these superstars would be traveling all over the world. That's what WWE is. You're on the road over 200 days a year, right? You're on the road, 2 times more than you are at home during the year. You're away from your friends and family, right? So if you look at it, if things were normal, superstars would be, traveling around the world, right? They go to local gym, right? Maybe they have a little bit of time to sightsee and do shopping or whatever. And then they have to go to the arena because, they have to work. They have to get ready for Raw, Smackdown, pay-per-views. Some superstars have to do media appearances and endorsements or meet and greets, stuff like that. So WWE superstars' life is busy. But now with the pandemic, they're home all the time. Everything's been interrupted. So basically, they're just going to the Thunderdome, once or twice a week for Raw or SmackDown, and then they go back home. So, they're not having that busy schedule. So they have a lot more time on their hands, and they're also probably thinking, what am I going to do? I'm not used to having all this downtime. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of these superstars are gamers, right? But now with this whole Cameo and Twitch ban, especially for the superstars like an AJ Styles, like an Aleister Black, like a Paige who's not even allowed to wrestle right now, they're just sitting here like, really? Seriously? I have to go through something like this? It's already bad enough that we're in a pandemic, and, someone like Paige who's not even able to wrestle. One of the only things she has is her Twitch channel. It's one of the only things. It allows her to connect with fans, right? It allows it allows her to do what she loves. And the thing about it is WWE's taking that away from her. Like I said, my stance on the matter is this, right? And Paige said she's been speaking with lawyers, and then, she's attempting to utilize the WWE superstars so they can go after Vince on the situation, right? And I'm gonna say this: I expect the superstars to win. Because at the end of the day, if you're talking about the superstar names not being used, that is, a valid point. Because Vince has every right to tell the superstars you should not be using your superstar names on these platforms without permission. And if WWE is able to negotiate a deal with these other companies, so be it, right? So be it. Everything will be fine. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But you completely ban the superstars. If a superstar is using their real name, right? If Sasha's using her real name, Mercedes KV, on Twitch, there really shouldn't be a problem. Yes, there's going to be people that watch the stream and in the chat room they call her Sasha because she's more known for being Sasha Banks on TV than being Mercedes in real life. That's just the way it goes with being a WWE superstar. But Sasha has no control over that. If she's presenting herself as Mercedes and not using her Sasha name, her Sasha character, then there shouldn't be an issue because Vince doesn't own the superstars' real names. That's the thing. You're taking away what these superstars love to do, and I feel like it's going to come back to bite Vince in the ass eventually. It really is. Right, I'm hoping maybe this will end peacefully and the superstars will be able to go back to Cameo and Twitch without an issue. If you see Zelina Vega, she's already taking advantage of this. She is she has her own OnlyFans. She doesn't post any nude content or anything like that. She mainly just uses it for like photo shoots, lingerie, cosplay, things like that. But she's already finding other ways to keep doing what she loves, even though WWE is, telling her, oh, you can't be on Cameo, you can't be on Twitch, right? I feel like Vince is going way too far with this. And, if Paige is able to utilize the superstars and they're able to get lawyers involved and this really becomes a real legal thing, I expect the superstars to win. Because Vince said, if superstars continue to violate these terms, suspensions, fines, possible terminations, all right, utilize. If I'm an Adam Cole or if I'm an AJ Styles, I would test Vince's buttons. Push it. Is Vince really gonna fire me? Is he really gonna fire an AJ Styles for gaming, right? For Cameo, if he's using his real name, is Vince really willing to take that far? I would test it. And I love the way Zelina Vega is doing it because she's not afraid. She's not afraid. She's like, I'm gonna keep doing what I wanna do. So basically, my stance is this. If we're talking about superstar names, Vince has every right to tell the superstars you can't be using those because he owns the property for them, right? But when it comes to using real names and banning them off Twitch and Cameo, I think Vince is 100% wrong. And if, something doesn't happen where these superstars are able to get back on Cameo and Twitch, because it's already bad enough, we're in a pandemic, and you're taking away something that they use to pass the time since they're not on the road, right? The superstars are legit killing themselves with boredom. So I expect the superstars to win this. I think, maybe by the end of November, who knows? Right now the band's been gone for a couple weeks now. But it'll be interesting. But I do expect the superstars to win. I don't think Vince is gonna be able to, hold them down for much longer. All right, so that's my thoughts on that. I wanted to get that talked about because some of you guys have been asking me about the Twitch ban and my thoughts on that. Right. And, really quick, a guy told me an independent contractor, because that's what the distributors are, right? An independent contractor, not allowed to have side hustles. What is Vince thinking? Like, come on. That's what these superstars are. They're legit independent contractors. And their brand, right? And the platform that they're able to build up because of WWE is huge, and Vince and the company do get credit for that. But at the end of the day, the superstars, what they do outside of the company, as long as they're not using their company fame in a way, to try to take credit, it should not be a problem. Should not be a problem. If Sasha wants to go, be a movie star, right? She's in The Mandalorian. If she wants to go be a movie star, and part of that fan base is because of her WWE fans and people love her so much, so be it. So be it. I think what Vince is doing is wrong. It's gonna come back to bite him. That's how I feel the situation. These independent contractors, these superstars, they should be allowed to have side hustles. They should be able to have, other gigs lined up outside of WWE, as long as they do it in a way that doesn't hurt the company, right? That's my thoughts on that. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep you guys updated on that situation. Next up, quickly, Survivor Series, right? I'm going to try to do this as quick as possible because I've talked about this a little bit on the Monday Night Raw podcast. Survivor Series this year I'm not that excited for it, right? I'm not. I feel like many of you guys would agree with me because Survivor Series doesn't feel special. Not only are we in a pandemic, right? We still don't have fans, and NXT's not there. And I know Vince is trying to keep NXT and the main roster separate, especially because, it seems like every other week there's, reports coming out of new positive cases inside the Performance Center. So I can understand that, entirely. But this Survivor Series doesn't feel special at all. They're marketing it as the best of the best of the best. And you have Tom Phillips' goofy ass coming on saying, "Oh, it's the one time of year when Raw and SmackDown superstars get to go head to head." And you guys know how I hate when my intelligence is being insulted. You look at it, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown have been going at it all year, especially as a result of the pandemic and them having to be in the Performance Center, right? Because usually Raw and SmackDown, if you were in a normal schedule, if we were in a normal year, they would have two completely different touring schedules. But since, everybody's in the same arena, WWE has, had occasion on occasion where these superstars have been interacting with one another. We've seen that at Money in the Bank. We've seen that at the Performance Center. We've seen it in the Thunderdome before the draft. So I hate when WWE saying, "Oh, it's the one time of year when we get to see Raw and SmackDown superstars go up head to head." They're on the same pay-per-view cards with each other every single month, and you're talking to me about exclusive head-to-head action between brands. Don't insult my intelligence. Don't. And that's not the thing that bothers me really. The thing that bothers me is there is absolutely no stakes. There is no reason to care about this year's Survivor Series. Nothing. It seems like there's a bunch of random matches that you put together in WWE Universe mode in 2K19. That's the way it feels to me. There's nothing there. What's the reason? What, bragging rights? No. Here's the thing. If you look at it, especially the best Survivor Series matches over the years, right? Look at it. What did they had? They had stakes. No matter if it was Survivor Series 1987 with Hulk Hogan's team going up against Andre the Giant's team, right? Stakes were involved in that. Hey, Survivor Series 2001, Team WWF versus the Alliance. Winner takes over the entire company. Stakes. Legit stakes. The balance of power in the WWF was on the line. And we all love that angle. I love that storyline. Back at the peak of the Attitude Era. Another example. You could think Survivor Series 2016, just a couple years ago. If you guys remember when Raw and SmackDown were going at it at the time. You had Shane McMahon. He was in charge of SmackDown. You had Stephanie McMahon in charge of Raw. And you actually wanted to see these two teams beat the crap out of each other because there was bragging rights. Right? It actually felt important. And I remember that was a hyped Survivor Series. Love that Survivor Series. I feel like a lot of you guys would agree with me. There's nothing really on the line here at all. Nothing. There's no real importance to it. It doesn't matter how much talent you have involved. If there's nothing involved, if there's nothing that's gonna, make us care, then why are you doing it? Right? Last year you had NXT involved, and you had NXT, them on the rise. They wanted to show that they were on the level of Raw and SmackDown. And Raw and SmackDown wanted to say, no, NXT, you're still the minor leagues. Let us show you your place. That's stakes. That's something right there. That gets your blood boiling. Survivor Series 2014, right? The Team Authority versus, I believe it was Team Cena or Team WWE, something like that, right? If Team Cena wins, the Authority, they're out of WWE. And everybody, especially a younger version of me, everybody wanted to see Team Authority lose. There's nothing to get excited about here with Survivor Series. Outside of Sasha Banks versus Asuka and the Street Profits versus the New Day, there's nothing to get excited about. Nothing at all. So, how do you make the Survivor Series important? I've been hearing reports that Vince still doesn't know what he wants to do for Survivor Series. There's possible changes that he wants to make, and classic Vince, right? Classic Vince. The guy's so out of touch that he can't even make concrete plans for what's supposed to be one of the most important shows of the year. It's supposed to be a big 5 pay-per-view, right? But instead, it doesn't feel important at all. If Vince had some common sense, or if someone from WWE was listening to today's podcast, right, they could easily listen to what I'm about to say, and they could easily use that. They could easily use that as a way to add stakes to the Survivor Series match. How do we make the Survivor Series match look important? Easily. The winners or the sole survivors, right? You could do something like they get a title shot of their choosing within 2 to 3 months. So, let's say on Raw, let's say Keith Lee is the final survivor for Monday Night Raw. He wins the match. He gets a WWE, or he gets to choose what title he contends for. It has to be a Raw title since he's on Raw. But if he wants to go after the US or the WWE title, he can choose to have a title match whenever he wants, kind of like a mini Money in the Bank, right? He can choose to have a title match whenever he wants, up until something like the Elimination Chamber. Because it would be kind of ridiculous if he waited till WrestleMania to cash in on that opportunity. So that's an easy way to add stakes. You could also put, maybe the winners get priority drawing in the Royal Rumble. So they get a guaranteed, top 5 or final 5 spot. So anywhere from 25 to 30, they're guaranteed to come out, at that time in one of those 5 spots. Because, it gives them a huge advantage, in possibly winning the match. Those are 2 stakes in it. Right there, right? Come on, use your common sense. Use your common sense. Vince could easily have Adam Pearce, right, come out on Raw and SmackDown next week and announce this, and nobody would complain. It would be easy. It would be easy, and would actually make people care because like I said, there's a lot of talent on Raw and SmackDown, and the Survivor Series match, especially for the men, looks pretty good. On Raw, you have Styles, you have Keith Lee, you have Sheamus, you have Matt Riddle, and you have Braun Strowman. That's a solid team. SmackDown right now, I believe they only have KO and Jey Uso, right? But once the team's filled out, I expect it to look impressive. We know that they can put on, all 10 of those individuals can put on a damn good Survivor Series match that go 30 to 45 minutes. But if there's no stakes, we're going to be watching the match and we're just going to be like, why should we care? Why should we care? Right? Come on. So, it's pretty simple. I don't really have anything else to say. If you guys agree with me, make sure, let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Give me guys your opinion. What do you think would add stakes to the Survivor Series match? How can we make Survivor Series feel important? You know what I mean? And you can do the same thing for the woman, right? For let's say if Bianca Belair is the final survivor for the women's Survivor Series match, right? She gets a SmackDown Women's Championship opportunity whenever she wants within 2 months. So, like I said, that's when it would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense to do rewards like that. But I think Vince is so far gone that he doesn't even remember that kind of stuff. But let me know what you guys think. All right. Moving on. Next up, I'm going to do this quickly. I want to talk about Bayley. All right. Bayley, the role model herself. I want to take a second here, right, and just talk about Bayley's legacy. Because I saw on Twitter, and there were some people that were, throwing a hissy fit because they felt like Bayley was jobbed out in these like last couple weeks, right? We know Bayley's no longer the SmackDown Women's Champion. She dropped it to Sasha Banks, but people feeling like Bayley wasn't used correctly in the last couple months, and that even though her feud with Sasha was great, right? Bayley had the momentum at the beginning, but Sasha had all the momentum, especially the last 3 or 4 weeks of the feud, and people thought that they didn't like how Bayley looked at the end here, and I can understand that. I can understand. And we could talk about the Sasha and Bayley rivalry. I've done this on multiple podcasts already. I wish Sasha and Bayley got saved for WrestleMania. I personally wish that. I wish they went the Sasha Banks Royal Rumble route. I'm not complaining because as a Sasha Banks fan, I'm so happy that she's SmackDown Women's Champion. Right? I'm happy that, she's finally being recognized for being the best in the world. And people are finally seeing how great she is. Because I've been bitching and moaning about it on the podcast for years now. Right? But I kind of wish they stayed Sasha and Bayley. They were so great as a heel duo. WWE could have, prolonged this all year. But if you look at it, Bayley had nobody to face. Nobody to face. And even look at the SmackDown Women's roster right now. There's not many baby faces. The only ones there are Sasha, Bianca, Liv, and Ruby. There wouldn't have been many feuds you could do with Bayley to get her all the way to WrestleMania, right? So I understand why WWE had to do the feud. But for people out there complaining that Bayley was jobbed out, no. Guys, here's the thing. The whole point of the Bayley and Sasha rivalry now, right? It was a script flip. It was a flipped script. You guys remember back in 2015 when Sasha and Bayley feuded, right? When they gave us the best women's match of all time. Sasha was the heel. Bayley was the babyface. That moment was for Bayley to win the title, and then at NXT TakeOver Respect, Bayley to retain the title and put a bow tie on the feud. That's the same thing that we're seeing here now 5 years later. Here we are 5 years later. Sasha's now the babyface, and Bayley's the heel. So the whole point of this, right, no matter if they delayed it till WrestleMania or whenever, right, Sasha would have still won the match and still retained the title. That was the plan. That was the direction for the feud the entire time. And yes, like I said, I do wish it could have been saved for a live crowd, like a Royal Rumble, like a WrestleMania, where we expect there probably will be fans based off the reports we've been getting. But this was the plan for the feud the entire time. Everyone knew the second that Bayley won that title and Bayley and Sasha were drafted to SmackDown together that Bayley was going to drop the title to Sasha. There was nobody else that was going to take that title from Bayley. And we all know with Sasha being as great as she is, right, that she's going to carry that SmackDown Women's division into the next era, picking off right where Bayley left off. Look at the run that Bayley's had over the last year. Right? When Bayley was a babyface and Sasha was God last summer when they lost the women's tag team titles at WrestleMania. Bayley won Money in the Bank. She cashed it on the same night and she was SmackDown Women's Champion, but her reign really wasn't anything special. At least her first reign. She didn't do anything. She feuded with Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. Nobody cared. I thought she was going to put on a match of the year candidate with Ember Moon, but the match with Bayley and Ember Moon, it never got started, really. It was a disappointment. A major disappointment. And then you had her drop the title to Charlotte. And like I said, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Charlotte, right? And we all know Charlotte only held that championship for 5 days. But it caused Bayley to turn into the best version of herself. Because then we'll always remember that iconic moment of Bayley destroying the Bayley Buddies, coming out with the new music, the new hair, even though it's always been tough for me to get used to Bayley's theme song. But still, it started off a fantastic run for her. And the thing about it is, if you guys remember, back then, we didn't know how a heel Bayley was going to look. Because Bayley had been a babyface her entire time throughout WWE. She had always been the hugger. And I hated the hugger gimmick. I always knew Bayley was great, but I always hated that gimmick. When she turned heel, it took her time to grab her footing. because she had been playing a babyface for so long, that she didn't know how to play a heel at first. She had to get used to it. But if you look at it over time, right, her look got better. Remember, she had that soccer mom haircut at the beginning. Her hair has improved so much over the last year from where it first was, right? But her hair, her appearance got better. She got more confident on the mic. Her moveset as a heel, because she had to completely change her moveset because she was playing a whole new character, improved over time. And people recognized how great Bayley was. So, legends, superstars, so many people came out. And, even Vince himself, even though he's out of touch, Vince was quoted on saying, how much he loved Bayley. There were so many people that were proud and, astonished that Bayley was able to transition into this new heel character so easily. And being with Sasha Banks made it that much better. Them as a duo was fantastic. You guys remember, we were supposed to get Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania last year, or earlier this year. But the pandemic changed that. Then it was going to be at Summerslam in Boston. But of course, the pandemic changed that. They had to keep delaying it. And like I said, if WWE wanted to, they could have delayed Sasha and Bayley all throughout the rest of the year. They could have had the remain a heel duo. And one of the reasons why the feud was, it took so long for them to pull the trigger on it was because everyone knew how great a heel duo they were. Right? Bayley was having great consistent matches with the likes of Asuka, Naomi, Carmella, Nikki Cross. I wasn't probably the lowest point of Bayley's run as champion were the matches with Tamina and Lacey Evans, because those two are terrible. Even Sasha Banks, even if you put a rivalry with her and Tamina or her and Lacey Evans, she would have a tough time with that just because those two suck, right? But other than that, Sasha and Bayley together were fantastic. She had good matches. She was great on the mic. People cared, and they were invested in the storyline with her and Sasha as it progressed. Her and Sasha won the Women's Tag Team Championships, Bayley Doe Straps, and 2 belts Banks, right? Amazing. They were on all 3 shows. They went from NXT to Raw to Smackdown, defending the titles against Asuka and Kairi Sane, and Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart, having classics. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. And the run ended in the best way possible, with Sasha and Bayley giving us 2 amazing matches. Hell in a Cell being a match of the year candidate, one of the best Hell in a Cell matches I've seen. And then they had a spectacular match on SmackDown last week, depending on when you guys are watching this. Even though I wish there was less commercial breaks and they got a little more time, it was still a great match. So Bayley had an amazing run, and this run put her in the conversation to being one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time. In my opinion, it's Sasha Banks, and it'll probably always be Sasha Banks. But I do recognize Bayley as being great. PWI Insider, right, I have the cover somewhere around here. They recognized her as the #1 female wrestler in the past year, which she deserved. She rightfully deserved it. There's no argument. The only argument you could possibly make is either Sasha or Asuka. But Bayley, for the most part, is undisputedly was the best female wrestler, in the world the last year for basically what she did with her character, the storyline with Sasha Banks, and then her just being great, right? We all knew that Sasha was going to be the one to take the title off of Bayley. It was just a matter of when and where. And that was Hell in a Cell. That was the time they chose to do it, and it ended spectacularly. There's other things that they could have done better, of course. I kind of wish they delayed the match. I wish they waited till they had fans, of course. I wish that they didn't rush to do the rematch on a random edition of SmackDown for ratings. I wish they saved it for a bigger stage. But still, all in all, the Sasha and Bayley rivalry did its job, and I know for a fact one day we'll see Bayley versus Sasha again, right? So now, for all those people complaining about how Bayley's run ended, this was the way it was supposed to end the entire time, and you shouldn't be complaining. You really shouldn't. More, you should just be reflecting on how great Bayley is and how this run is going to go down in the history of WWE. Because people are going to look back at this and people are going to remember. Remember when Bayley held the SmackDown Women's Championship for 520 out of 525 days? Remember that run she had? Remember how great her and Sasha were as heels? Remember the way their friendship erupted? People need to look at that. And Bailey's still great. She'll win more championships, of course. I don't think Bailey should win a title for a while, right? But still, she's just getting started. She's still very young and still has a lot more wrestling to do, a lot more moments, and a lot more stories, to tell. So I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what's next. So don't complain about Bailey and how her run ended. This was the way it was supposed to end, right? And she's still one of the top stars in the women's division, right? One of the greatest of all time, and she's still gonna have many more fantastic moments as she continues building her career. All right, but a question that I think that we should be asking is, what's next for Bailey? What's next for Bailey? She tweeted out that, I'm done with you for now, Sasha. So basically the Sasha and Bailey feud, it's done for now. They could always revisit it, maybe at WrestleMania, even though I believe Sasha versus Bianca should be at WrestleMania, which we're about to talk about, of course. But either way, where does Bailey go from here? Well, it kind of goes with where Sasha is going. Even though Sasha and Bailey are done feuding for now, still, their storylines are still going to have interlocking, if that makes sense. So I'm going to end the podcast with this. How do you book Sasha Banks as SmackDown Women's Champion? Right? She is finally being recognized for how great she is, and it's so good to finally see her retain a title and see WWE actually booking her correctly. I wish Sasha would get her run with fans, of course, but still, you can't complain. It's better to see Sasha as champion than not see her with anything at all, because she's that great. But, where do you go with Sasha Banks as SmackDown Women's Champion? Who does she face? How long does she hold the title? Who does she drop the title to? Where? I'm going to tell you guys how I would do it right now. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I wanted to wait until we saw Sasha retain against Bailey before making this video, and here we are. Sasha Banks is the best female wrestler in the world. You guys have heard me say that 1,000 times. She is also now making a name for herself in Hollywood. Sasha is going to be in The Mandalorian. I've mentioned it so many times over the last couple of weeks. And I will be doing live reactions to the episodes that Sasha appears in for The Mandalorian when those episodes come out. But Sasha is fantastic. And like I said, she is one of the biggest names. In my opinion, she's the biggest name in the women's division. But she's one of the biggest names in the entire company. She's right up there with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and the AJ Styles and the Daniel Bryan. She's a top name. So where do you go from her? She is right now the number one babyface in the women's division. Her only competition really for that is Asuka. Bianca Belair could challenge her for that top spot one day, but right now she is the number one babyface. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens once Becky and Ronda and Charlotte comes back, because, you can make an argument for all three of those women to come back as either baby faces or heel. They can all be in any one of those roles. So, what do you do? All right, so after Sasha won, and beat Bailey, retaining her championship, she was attacked by Carmella. Right? Carmella with this whole new untouchable blonde gimmick. You guys know how much I hate these kinds of gimmicks. I absolutely despise them with a burning passion. But, this is the direction that they're going with, right? And it's whatever, having Sasha just defeat Bailey in what was a spectacular rivalry and then moving her on to Carmella, who we haven't seen on television for months, it's debatable, right? It's debatable, but if there's anybody that's going to have a great match with Carmella, it's going to be Sasha. It's going to be Sasha because Sasha is the best female wrestler in the world. Carmella's had some decent matches throughout her career. She's had some good matches with Becky, right? I think she had a decent match with Charlotte, but I can't remember. I think it was SummerSlam. I think it was Charlotte, Becky, and Carmella. Carmella did really well in that match. Carmella's not a bad wrestler. She had a pretty good SmackDown Women's Championship match with Bailey earlier this year. She's not bad in the ring. I'm not a fan of this whole, blonde, untouchable gimmick, because it's something that we would see right out of the Divas era, right? And you could tell, right? It's like Carmella's the 2020 version of All Red Everything Eva Marie, and I hate that gimmick. You know, maybe Eva Marie comes back, and then we see Carmella and Eva Marie become a tag team. You know, their gimmicks would work perfectly with one another, and you need tag teams in the women's division right now, right? So we'll see. But, you know, right now, a Carmella and Sasha Banks feud will be okay. Trust me. I don't really know what the story you would put here. You know, maybe you could have. I'm thinking about it right now. Maybe you do a story like Sasha. You know, she doesn't like how Carmella is representing herself. Carmella wants to be the face of the SmackDown Women's Division now, right? She comes back with this new look, and Sasha's unhappy because, you know, Sasha, she's fought in so hard throughout her career to, get that perception of women's wrestling out of the way, right? She wants women's wrestling to be on the same level as the men, and she's done that. Especially her, Asuka, Becky, Charlotte, Bailey, Ronda. They've done that as the leaders of the women's division in the last couple of years. But now you have Carmella coming back with this diva look, right? All that. Everything that was wrong with the Divas era. And now she's trying to bring that back and make it relevant in 2020. And then Sasha doesn't like that. You know, she's like, you're going to come back and try to take over the division that I am leading with that type of look? It goes against everything I believe in and everything I fought for. So I think WWE could tell a story with that. I don't think they will because they're uncreative. Even though SmackDown's creative is a lot better than Raw's, but still, I just don't see them being, having that kind of logic, having that type of thinking. And it's sad that someone like me sits behind a camera and a microphone, and I can book, WWE better than they can. But it is what it is. Either way, Sasha versus Carmella most likely is going to happen at TLC. Maybe it spills into Royal Rumble, whatever. Either way, I don't see Carmella winning the title. I don't. I saw someone comment on my Raw review, and they were like, they want to see Carmella win the title and go up against Asuka. If you want to see that, then you're part of the problem with the product today. Carmella, who's been out all year. You want her to just come back and win the SmackDown Women's Championship? Really? After everything that Sasha and Bailey have done for that title, you just want Carmella, who we haven't seen wrestle, just cut the line, right, and then just win the title. No. Build Carmella up, right? Have her have a good showing at Survivor Series. Have her win some matches, and then, work her way up to being the number one contender. You have a lot of time between now, Survivor Series, and TLC, which would make sense for when this match would be taking place. I don't know if you do like a stipulation since it's TLC. I don't know if you do like a tables or a ladders or a chairs match. Like, I don't think you need to, right? But if anybody's going to bring Carmella to a good match, it's going to be Sasha Banks because she's that damn good. On a side note, right, Survivor Series, I would have Sasha beat Asuka because we've seen, Corey Graves mentioned on commentary when we had Sasha and Bailey last week, Sasha and Bailey have both struggled in their career against Asuka. Asuka was the one that took the Raw Women's title back from Sasha back at SummerSlam and made Sasha tap out again the next night, right? We've also seen Asuka beat Sasha clean the night after the Royal Rumble back in 2018, a couple years ago, when Asuka first was on the main roster. And we know Sasha and Asuka have fantastic chemistry, and at Survivor Series, they will have a chance to probably have match of the night. I think it's going to come down to them and the New Day and the Street Profits. One of those two matches will be match of the night. They have fantastic chemistry together, and I cannot wait to see what new stuff they try with this match. My problem here is Asuka has defeated Sasha clean on multiple occasions. Multiple. Like I said, we just seen Asuka make Sasha tap out clean twice. Earlier this year, 2 nights in a row. Sasha has never defeated Asuka clean. Never. Asuka has multiple clean victories over Sasha. It's time for Sasha to get the win. It's time for Sasha to get a win over Asuka. It's not going to hurt Asuka. I can sit here and complain about Asuka's Raw Women's Championship reign, but that's not the point of today's podcast. We're talking about Sasha. Asuka, it's not going to hurt her, losing to Sasha clean. What you do is, you have two top baby faces of your women's division. You have them go out and put on 15 to 20 minutes of great stuff. Great stuff. And then you have Asuka tap out the Sasha clean. It's that simple. And after the match, you have Sasha and Asuka embrace, show each other respect, and they hold their titles up in the air, as a sign of sportsmanship and showing everybody that these are the two best in the women's division right now. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's time for Sasha to get the win back over Asuka and win clean, because Sasha's never defeated Asuka clean. That's how I would do it. All right. So then, all right, you have the rivalry with Carmella that goes into TLC. Maybe you can also have that go into Royal Rumble. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I was thinking about, potentially having Sonya Deville come back to SmackDown. Remember, we haven't seen Sonya since SummerSlam because Sonya, WWE granted Sonya a break because you guys remember she had the break-in at her house and, someone was trying to kidnap her, right? So she hasn't been seen since. But Sonya Deville, she's very, very underrated. Very underrated. I feel like she has a chance to be a top star in the women's division one day, if booked correctly. I love the heel work she was doing earlier this year when she was feuding with Mandy. And I would love to see her come back, if she is allowed to come back to SmackDown, because I believe, when Mandy beat her, I think it was like the loser leaves WWE or the loser leaves SmackDown. It was something like that, right? But I would have Sonya come back to SmackDown, and I would have her attack Sasha Banks, leading to Sasha versus Sonya. Either at Royal Rumble, right? Maybe go into the Elimination Chamber season, something like that. A nice side feud. And I think Sasha could put on some great matches with Sonya and really, really elevate Sonya to that next level, right? There's one thing Sasha's great at doing. She's really good at elevating her opponents and making them look like stars, even in defeat. So I feel like that would be really, really cool, So that would be the next rivalry I would do. So I would have, Sasha beat Asuka, then feud with Carmella, feud with Sonya, elevating those two women. So remember when I said earlier, I told you guys that Bayley would be involved in all of this. The next feud for Bayley, I think right now, I know Bayley's had some things going on in her personal life, but if Bayley is not taking a break from WWE, and I think she's staying, especially since Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte are still out, I would have Bayley be the captain of the SmackDown women's team, right? There's still there's two or three slots left on the team. I would have Bayley be the captain of the Women's Survivor Series team. I would have Liv Morgan also on that team, and then I would give the last spot to Zelina Vega. Give Zelina a chance to showcase herself. So I would have Bayley be the captain of the Survivor Series team and have her, tease conflict with Bianca Belair. And then after Survivor Series, the next feud would be Bayley versus Bianca Belair. You can have them have a series of matches. Hell, you could do a best of 7 series. When you see WWE do things like that, just have them go out and put classic after classic on, right? Because Bayley's, she's gonna need some side feuds now that she's out of the title picture for now, at least, right? So Bayley versus Bianca Belair would be great. Plus, I believe everything needs to lead up to Sasha versus Bianca at WrestleMania. That's your money match. That's the biggest match you could put on in the SmackDown Women's division, other than maybe a triple threat between Sasha, Bayley, and Bianca. But that's your money match for WrestleMania: Sasha versus Bianca Belair. So you have Bayley elevate Bianca. It's not gonna hurt Bayley if she gets pinned by Bianca, right? And then if you want, you can have Bianca be one of the favorites. If not, win the Royal Rumble. I know there's some people thinking that Rhea Ripley could win it, or maybe a returning Ronda Rousey. We don't know. But I would have, Bianca Belair win the Women's Royal Rumble and go on to challenge Sasha at WrestleMania. So, Sasha, we get the Elimination Chamber. If she's not facing Sonya, I would do an Elimination Chamber match, right? Of course. Have Sasha defend against 5 people, of course, right? I would have Sasha in there with Bayley. I would have her in there with Carmella. I'd have her in there with Zelina Vega. I'd have her in there with Liv Morgan and Peyton Royce. right? And maybe you could have the final two women be Sasha and Bailey, and they get to continue their rivalry in there, right? Reuniting that amazing feud, and then Sasha defeats Bailey once again to retain her women's championship. So then we get WrestleMania. In most cases, usually I would use this as a spot where Sasha would put Bianca over, building and showcasing that next big star in the women's division, right? Well, the only problem is Sasha has never won a match at WrestleMania. She has been booked like the Big Show of WrestleMania for the women's division, and that's sad. Big Show didn't win his first WrestleMania match till I believe it was 2013 when he became the IC champion. I think he beat Cody Rhodes when Cody was still with the company. Sasha is too good not to have a WrestleMania victory, right? People, even when she lost the six-pack challenge earlier this year, right? People were mentioning, even though WrestleMania was inside the Performance Center, it still counted as a WrestleMania loss. Still counted, and Sasha's too good to get that treatment. Too good. We've already made so many great strides with Sasha. Her becoming Grand Slam Banks. I'm still waiting for my Grand Slam Banks T-shirt, by the way, WWE. I don't understand how they haven't made that design yet. Also, Sasha being able to finally retain a women's title. The only curse left is Sasha not having a WrestleMania victory. You look at all the other four horsewomen. Bailey has two. Becky has, I think Becky has one. No, Becky has two WrestleMania victories, right? Charlotte has two WrestleMania victories, and Sasha, being the best female wrestler in the world, has zero. That's a shame. That's a shame. What you need to do is you need to give Sasha the victory over Bianca Belair, right? You have Bianca. She's the newbie. She's the rookie, right? And she wants to make a name for herself on the biggest stage possible, but she's going up against somebody who's been in this situation so many times in Sasha Banks. And then you have Sasha Bianca put on a classic, 25 minute classic at WrestleMania with fans if we're able to get that. And then I would have Sasha beat Bianca clean, babyface versus babyface. I would have Sasha beat Bianca Belair. And then afterwards, I would have Sasha show sportsmanship to Bianca, but this signaling that it's not the end of their feud, it's only the beginning. So Sasha gets her first WrestleMania victory. Bianca looks like an even bigger star, even though she lost, and the feud would continue going to the summer. By this point, right, Becky and Ronda should be back because I expect Becky to be back around WrestleMania time, right? She might not come back right after the Royal Rumble, but I think she will be ready for WrestleMania. If Ronda is indeed back and we get Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania, most likely that feud would take place on Smackdown because, Smackdown having the bigger platform, right? Ronda Rousey, Fox, UFC, makes sense. Also, Becky, right? Becky would most likely be on SmackDown because of Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins, her fiance, the husband of the child they're about to have, right? It makes sense for Becky to be on SmackDown with Seth. So what I would do now going into, the summer months, right? And who knows, we'll probably have a superstar shakeup around this time as well. So maybe there's even new opponents for Sasha. During the summer, I would have Sasha face off against, Ronda Rousey, get her win back from Royal Rumble 2019. You could have Sasha go up against Becky. Maybe Becky turns heel, right? I would love to see something like Becky turns heel and aligns herself with Seth. That would be really cool. All right. You can maybe, do Sasha versus Liv Morgan, Sasha versus Ruby Riott. Who knows? There's plenty of things. As long as Sasha holds the title throughout the summer months. That's the most important thing. But I would most likely do Sasha versus Ronda, Sasha versus Becky. Sasha getting those wins back from defeats he had over the year. Like Hell in a Cell 2019. Like Royal Rumble 2019. Things like that. So, Money in the Bank, I would have Bianca Belair win the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. So then she holds on to the briefcase for a couple months, and then that leads us to SummerSlam 2021, right? This is where I would have Sasha lose the SmackDown Women's title. I would do, maybe you do something like a triple threat or a fatal four-way, something big. I would have Sasha versus Ronda versus Becky. Maybe even have Bayley involved if Bayley's still on SmackDown at the time, right? I would do a big match. I would have Sasha win the match, right? It doesn't matter how she wins. Maybe she makes Becky tap out or make Ronda tap out. I don't care. But Sasha wins the match. And then after, as she is celebrating, who knows? Maybe SummerSlam will be in Boston, right? So they can make up for them not having the show in Boston like last year because of the pandemic. But either way, Sasha, she's celebrating right in front of her home crowd. And then she gets hit from behind with a briefcase. Bianca Belair turns heel, hits Sasha with the briefcase, cashes in the Money in the Bank briefcase, right? Does the KOD on Sasha, and she becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. So at this time, Sasha would have been SmackDown Women's Champion for 10 months, right? Around 10, 11 months at the time. She would have held the title for nearly a year, had a great title reign, had matches with so many people like Carmella, Sonya Deville, Bianca, right? She already had her matches with Bayley, maybe Ronda and Becky if they're back at this time. And then Sasha loses the title to Bianca at SummerSlam via cash-in, so Sasha still looks strong in defeat. But Bianca is now the new top dog. A new star is officially made. So then you can have heel Bianca versus babyface Sasha going into the fall on SmackDown, going to Clash of Champions and maybe Hell in a Cell, and then they just go at it. Maybe they continue the streak of Sasha, being in every single women's Hell in a Cell match, because that is her match. She is the boss of the cell. And then at Survivor Series 2021, I would finally do the 4 Horsewomen versus the MMA Woman feud. Sasha, Bayley, Charlotte, and Becky going up against Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, and the rest of their crew. That's what I would do, right? And then after that, it's whatever. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Maybe you tease the Sasha and Bayley reunion at the time, maybe. And maybe they go back after the tag team championships. I don't know. But that's what I would do with Sasha and Bayley and everyone else. So basically, there you guys have it. That's how I would book Sasha over the next year. I just basically booked Sasha for the rest of this year and most of 2021. So if someone from WWE is listening, that's how I would book Sasha Banks as the SmackDown Women's Champion. Let me know what you guys thought. So like I said, Sasha defeats Asuka, right? Best of the best at Survivor Series. Feuds with Carmella. Feuds with Sonya Deville, right? Wins at the Elimination Chamber. Beats Bianca Belair at WrestleMania in a classic. Then carries that title into the summer months. Have her beat Ronda. Have her beat Becky Lynch, right? Continue being dominant. At SummerSlam, she retains her title in a triple threat or fatal four-way, something like that. Then Bianca, who won Miss Money in the Bank, cashes in, beats Sasha for the title, have Sasha and Bianca feud into the fall, and then at Survivor Series 2021, do the Horsewoman versus MMA Woman feud that we've been waiting years for. So let me know what you guys thought. That's how I would do it. I know you guys, a lot of you guys are going to like that. Some of you guys may disagree with me, but that's why we're here. Let's discuss. Let's try to be kind to one another. But, other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little bonus episode of the Legit Suit Podcast. I'm going to get out of here. As always, if you guys enjoyed, go check out my other podcast, the Hell in a Cell review, the Smackdown review. Go check out Monday Night Raw's review from this week. Another horrific Monday Night Raw. All right, I always love talking about SmackDown because with SmackDown, I don't get as mad. But for Raw, I'm just always ranting and, I'm in a bitchy mood because the show is so bad. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. Like the video if you guys enjoyed so we can educate more fans and push this video out to more people. Also, follow me on Twitter. The social media links are in the description down below. Hit the bell right next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. Like, I got tons of content coming out. We got SmackDown this weekend, and then we got Survivor Series all next week. Thank you guys for everything. I'll see y'all later. Have a great day, guys. Peace.